painted?
No.
The older you get, the slower you paint. And I can't make the same lines, so now it's like, I should tape, and I never had a tape. Should I tape? Is he gonna notice? But I had to go buy more tape.
And me, I'm not patient enough. I just looks good.
But it'll get there. We'll get it there.
All right. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start. If other people walk up, great. Did everybody get a copy of the agenda and the minutes from last month? Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to approve the June minutes?
Motion to approve.
John made the motion. Can I get a second? All in favor? All opposed? Okay. We've got 5 open board positions for the board. Currently, we have 5 positions filled, but Nora is the treasurer. She would rather step down, but she won't step down until her position is filled. So I greatly appreciate that. So what is open is secretary, treasurer, deed restriction chair, social committee chair, and director at large. Director at large is basically you kind of just help out ACC, maintenance, social, you're just kind of helping with the board. All of these positions that are up for filling today are two-year positions. What that means is that your position's up for 2 years. So next April, you're not up for election. If you step down, that's fine. Every board asks if you can't do the position and you want to step down, try to get somebody to replace you. It's not required. That's just to keep the board from, yes ma'am?
So some of those, since they alternate, some of those might be filling positions that are up next year?
Well, that's just it, is that the year that I got on, the election got shuffled. So I'm up in April, which is president, vice president, which it should never be president, vice president up for election same year, but it was up, so it's president, vice president, ACC, and maintenance are the 4 that are up in April.
So if somebody gets on as ACC, they'll actually...
They're up for election of
So
2021.
it's not necessarily 2 years.
Well, ACC isn't open for a position right now.
Okay.
So the ones that are open right now, these are all positions that they came off in April, and they were up for election and nobody filled their positions. So I would like to go ahead and see if anybody would be interested in filling any of these positions.
Can you be a board member and a committee chairman? Okay, then since I'm committee chairman for social committee, I'm happy to be on the board.
For social?
For
Okay.
social.
Somebody. Yes, sir. Mr. David?
We already talked. I'll just fill whatever position.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Well,
No.
probably not social committee chair or director at large. But I'm not going to help you with your air conditioning. Sorry.
Oh, that's...
Call an air conditioning
Hey,
man.
but that's just good. That's good, though, because none of our amenities have air conditioning. The director at large is not... You're not going to be going to do anybody's personal stuff.
Anyway, whatever.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody else interested? Yes, sir.
I'll help her out on something.
On social,
Need some help?
Yeah, I can always use help.
he'll get on committee. So I bet he will get with them on not on the board, but on the committee.
On the committee?
Okay. Anybody else interested in filling a board position? Yes, ma'am.
I'll go about doing anything with deed restrictions.
Awesome. Would you be willing to be a board member or just committee?
Can I talk to you after? Sorry, I was 12 minutes late.
Well, so the way that the board positions have to be voted on by the board to get on. So I can talk to you afterwards, but we'll have to wait until the next meeting to vote if you want a board position. You want to wait? Or board? Cool. Okay. Anybody else?
I was going to say, I had somebody I was standing in for because they're still driving home, but they were interested in deed restrictions as well.
Okay. Cool. As long as they make it before the end of the meeting, we can vote at any time. So if they're interested, we can vote them on, or if they just want to be on a committee, not a big deal. That's perfect. Okay. All right. Anybody else? No one? Okay. So Betty, you would like a social committee chair?
For the board,
Yes, ma'am. Or do you want a committee?
well, I want a committee.
Well, but that's just, so what we need to do right now is elect people to get onto the board as a board member.
I don't mind being on the board.
You sure?
Don't ask her to be on the board.
Well, and so here's my position, and I think a lot of people I've talked to about this, I mean, and honestly, look around the crowd. A lot of people that are here have lived in this neighborhood for 20 plus years. The majority of this neighborhood are people my age. A lot of the people that have been on this board, y'all are retired. Y'all have been on this board, y'all know the ins and outs of the neighborhood, and it's by all means appreciated. But for people like me, John, Juan, it's time for people my age that are raising our families in this neighborhood to learn how to take care of this neighborhood. That being said, I'm not gonna tell you no, but I just want to make sure you're.
Well, being on the board would restrict me a little bit on the committee itself because it's a lot to do for one person. So if I could get a committee together, that would be great.
Absolutely.
So I'll do the committee like I did last year, or this past year.
Okay, so we still have the social chair open for the board member. Okay.
I'll tell you,
You want to take social chair? And what's your name again, sir?
Jimmy Griffin.
So, Mr. Griffin, what she's talking about is, I saw Kelly walk up. Kelly Cuban has helped out a lot. Jessica Fitzpatrick has helped out, but she just had a new baby like 2 weeks ago. So she's offered to help when she can. Most thing that we've noticed is if you can get out on Facebook and just say, hey, we need a committee, you'll start seeing as y'all start putting into events, people will offer to help.
Okay, I'll get with you.
Okay,
We'll figure it
awesome.
out.
Okay, can I get a nomination, can I get a motion to approve Mr. Griffin as a board member for social chair?
I make a motion.
You can't yet, but I'm gonna get to you.
Motion to approve.
Get eager.
I'll second.
It has to be a board member, but thank you. That's okay.
Motion second, whichever way it rolls.
Right, okay, all in favor? No, all opposed? No, okay. Mr. David, what I would suggest, if nobody's willing to step up and take treasurer's position, I would suggest we vote you on as secretary, and then you and Nora can get together and see if you would rather do treasurer. Y'all can see which position that you want, and then at the next meeting, we can flip your position.
Okay. A side note, just for information.
Yes, sir.
For the group, I was an accountant, I was a CPA, and did manage multi-million-dollar budgets at one point in time.
That sounds like a treasurer to me.
No, just probably make it.
But actually, director at large sounds really good right now. But yes, that'll be fine.
Okay,
I'll get together with her and we can discuss it if that's what she'd like.
perfect. And treasurer and secretary usually work pretty close anyways. So if y'all can get together after a meeting, talk and see if y'all want to flip positions.
We'll figure it out.
We haven't got to that yet. Okay, can I get a,
Maybe we can have a wife and husband too.
His wife's still working.
okay, can I get a motion to vote David onto the board as secretary?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
What's your last name?
And Mr. Jimmy,
Meadows,
you can
M-E-A-D-O-U-S.
now vote.
I'll say.
What did you say?
I have to find it. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. David, I've got you down for secretary as of right now. We can definitely split positions, not a problem. Okay, Miss Yates. Okay, you would want to come on what position? So what it's deed restriction and director at large or treasurer.
I already want to be treasurer, so this would work in as
Deed restrictions? Okay. Can I get a motion to vote Miss Yates on for deed restriction position?
I'll make the motion now.
There we go. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passed. Okay, so as of right now,
Sarah.
Oh,
yes, wait, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I was kind of interested in treasurer.
Oh,
There you
good,
go.
good.
I didn't know, is it real time consuming? Because I'm already a treasurer for the Boy Scouts. So-
I'm the bookkeeper, so I'm the one that does the books,
Yeah,
so
she
I
does
just
all
give you the, information, and if you have any questions, things like that. And I do the billing and all that.
I bet you can do it if you've done the scouts and all the rest.
I'm sorry?
I bet you can do it well since you're doing the scouts and all the rest.
Yeah, and I've been an accountant for like 40 years, so I retired.
Okay, so new laws that have passed, I do need to bring this up. If you have more than one section within a neighborhood, the laws state that you need to have a board member from each section. We did run that by the attorney. If we don't have a plethora of people wanting to get on the board, one from each section, we can take multiple from one section. So as it is right now, we have one more position that's still open if Nora would want to step down. You could take treasurer. We still have director at large. That being said, there is nothing keeping us from allowing more than one person from one section to sit on the board because we don't have all positions filled. Me and John live in section 1, Nora lives in section 1, Frank lives in section 1. It just so happens that's who we could get to fill the board. With who we have coming on, I believe y'all live in,
I think you told me 3, right?
Miss Barbara.
Oh, we're 4.
What section?
I think I'm in 4.
Okay, they live close to you.
Okay, yeah, I think you told me 4, yeah.
So that's section 4.
Like Breeze Lane, right?
You live in section 1.
Yeah.
And then Miss Yates, do you know where you live? Section 2. Okay. So that being said, there will be multiple board members in section 1. That's simply because we still have another position to fill. If at the time where an election comes up, whenever all these positions come up, if we have multiple people that want the same position and there's already 2 people in section 1, and somebody from another section wants that position, that person in section 1 will be pushed off for that year. But we never can get enough people to have an election with more people than what we need. So just so that is addressed, that is how the new laws are written. We need a full board so we can fill the board with people within one section. The only thing we cannot fill are board members that reside in one household. So husband and wife cannot be on the board together. Nora and Troy were on the board. Troy did not go on election for April, May, June, whenever we were able to have the elections. So just a heads up, if your spouse wants to get on the board, then one needs to get on, one needs to resign. Okay? Okay, so that puts director at large open. Okay. Are you at a point where you want to resign, or do you want to stay on? You want to stay on for a while? Ms. Diane, are you okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I was just trying to.
You can come on as director at large.
No, just wait. When Nora's ready.
Okay. So that being said, there is one more position. Is anybody interested in that director at large position? No?
I nominate Deb since he has on here to say.
You would think he'd be able to hear the meeting, but he put those on so he doesn't have to hear.
No, I don't want to do anything. Gotta go.
Okay, if everybody's good, Mr. Griffin, Ms. Yates, we will get y'all each get a book. We'll get with y'all this after the meeting. We need phone numbers, email addresses. We do use like Shadows only emails, so nothing goes to personal email addresses. We'll get you the email addresses, the passwords for those things, and then we'll kind of get together and go over everything if that sounds good. From this point on, you are more than welcome to vote on anything on the agenda. We do not have anything to vote on in this agenda now, but you are more than... Oh wait, no, we do. Sorry, I forgot. We do. We have the reports. I forgot about that. So feel free to speak up. Put in your 2 cents. If you're not sure on something, then you can always withhold your vote. Okay? Let's move on to financial. Can we do a financial report?
CD number 1, $40,000. Community Bank, $68,043.60. Prepaid account is $12,480.22. Money market is $12,191.39. And petty cash is $380.36 with a total of $133,095.57.
Okay, I'm going to stop this right here because I know Mr. Taylor has got questions in regards to the budget. So before we vote to approve the budget, I know you have questions.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Why is the ending balance, the beginning balance of 2018 and 2019, you lost over $60,000? Where did that go?
Okay, so I specifically asked the bookkeeper to be here at this meeting today. So that ending balance on 2018, if you look on your budget sheet down at the bottom where it says ending asset balance 102,153, that includes the CDs, the money market, and the prepaid accounts. Okay, so that balance at the end of that year includes those 3 accounts. The prepaid accounts we cannot touch. Those are for people that have prepaid their maintenance fees for 30 years. So that's money that cannot go into the budget. Their money goes into the maintenance account each year, but it sits in a completely separate account. Their maintenance fees are pulled out per year. The 2 CDs, so we have it. Well, it's a CD and a money market. We've got $40,000 in a CD.
Are they on here?
No, ma'am. We have a listed budget account that has expenses and stuff on it, but I think I've got some pins if you want to add it. The CD always stays at $40,000. Never changes. That is a locked-in CD. The money market account we have gained interest on. It was $10,000 whenever that account was set up, which Betty and Nora helped me. Those CDs were set up like 12 years ago, something like that.
A long time ago.
Okay, about between 12 and 15 years ago, those accounts were set up. So that one's just steadily gaining interest. So that account is at $12,480. So those were set up whenever the neighborhood took over from the maintenance companies. The neighborhood took everything over. The current board members at that time started putting everything on personal cards to pay for stuff in the neighborhood, to build the maintenance account back up. So everything that was done within this neighborhood, the mowing, stuff like that, board members were putting it on personal cards. A lot of volunteers were coming out and doing all the work themselves. So they took all that money, they stuck it in a CD. For the last 15 some odd years, the insurance coverage for this neighborhood, they covered the pool house, this pavilion, the gazebo, and at the boat ramp, it covers the tennis court. That is all the insurance ever covered. So we have to pay insurance on it. Those are certain things. Insurance we have to pay every year. Taxes have to be paid every year. Permits for the fishing piers have to be paid. So there are those set requirements. What's not covered are the piers, the bulkheads, and the boat ramp itself. So they put this money into those accounts in the event that something major happened and it wiped out all the fishing piers, wiped out the bulkheads, wiped out the boat ramp. there was money left to the side, because those were the major amenities, to be able to repair or replace. We were able to change over our insurance this year. We had enough, we really rushed, got a couple of different bids and quotes, and now our insurance covers our fishing piers. So that kind of takes the load off of those CDs and that money market, but that has always been stuck off to the side so that if something major happens, there's money there to replace or repair, and it does not come out of maintenance fees. Nothing is added to these CDs every year. Nothing's been added in years to either one of these accounts. So it's not like part of the maintenance fees every year gets dumped into these CDs. We use all the maintenance invoices that come in for the year to maintain what we have. It's kind of always just been previous boards, you don't touch that money. That is the neighborhood's ability to repair things that are not covered by insurance.
I understand that, but isn't there a way that you could put like security monies, like the state of Texas does, has this thing, and you show them so that it does balance? Or do it separate?
Oh, wait, you mean on the budget? Is that what
Well, and can I?
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So when you see that 102, if you look up, they took out a CD in 2018. I was not the bookkeeper until the end of 2018. They took out a CD to do whatever that they wanted, which is under capital expenditures. So that 41,000 is what you're seeing when they took that. I believe it was a $40,000 CD, if I'm not mistaken, but.
No, they didn't touch the CD.
Oh, I thought they took a CD
No,
out.
no,
They raised the maintenance fees.
Oh,
they raised the maintenance fees,
Okay.
and then with that capital expenditures, because maintenance fees were returned, that CD was dissolved and moved into a money market in case in the event the board needed that money to pay necessities.
Okay.
But no money, we had the $40,000 CD and then a $10,000 CD.
Okay, and so, but that capital expenditures is where the bulk of your funds went to, in whatever they did under that capital expenditure. I didn't bring a breakdown of that.
Okay, so on this spreadsheet, you know, on QuickBooks, we're basically using QuickBooks as a glorified checking account balancer. Because when this subdivision opened, and they started QuickBooks probably 10 or 15 years ago, they did not load all the assets. They did not start with a zero balance. They didn't go back and load anything. So this asset balance, I don't know where, you know, QuickBooks is picking that up. QuickBooks is talking about retained earnings. It's ending each year, but they never put in all of the assets and everything for this to be correct. That's part of the problem.
Well, and every number that I take from here is from QuickBooks.
Right,
Now,
that's
we
what I'm
just
saying.
upgraded this past, this year actually, because we were still in 2015.
Right, but I'm saying whoever started
Started
with
the-
QuickBooks
yeah.
didn't, I mean, to do it properly, you have to list every asset of the subdivision and
Right.
everything that goes into it. You have to list that we have tents or supplies or
Right.
flags or whatever. That was never done. QuickBooks really is just being used as to keep track of your expenditures, your members, to invoice your residents. But as far as keeping up with your assets and liabilities and your retained earnings and like a corporation, I mean, that line's kind of irrelevant. We're just keeping track of, we have our balance in our accounts, and then you're keeping track of what your income was and what your expenses were.
So you're saying the word asset, where it says asset on this
Right,
balance
that's what
sheet?
I'm saying. That is never gonna be.
Yeah, and
If
that's,
that's supposed to be the balance in the accounts, then it should be renamed account balances or something.
Well,
Because
and-
QuickBooks, I don't know how they have it listed, but it's always, it's never gonna match because the way QuickBooks handles it.
yeah, so the assets of the neighborhood, correct, is not in our accounts. Your assets, what everything is worth, correct. The format of this is just what's been handed down from board to board to board to board to board. So the
Right,
way
but
that
that's what this question is if you're saying we have $133,000 in the account, why at the beginning of the year do we only have $61,000 in assets? And that's because the way QuickBooks handles assets, it doesn't just account, you know, it closes out the books and it rolls things in and it changes things. So if
This is
supposed to be-
basically just showing what we've received and what we've paid
Right.
out.
yes.
That's it.
But this is what he's asking, it's at the top of the page, it says, in 2018, our beginning asset was 137, and in 2019, it was 40. That's, you know, he's
It's-
asking why that's such a huge difference, but that number doesn't match up because that is not a reflection of the account balance.
Okay, so on this sheet, take the word asset out. This is our bank account. This is how much we have in the bank accounts, how much we received with boat ramp stickers, pool passes if we had them, maintenance fees, late fees. And then the bottom is expenses, what we pay out during the year. There is no assets in here. There is no, you know, this gazebo, $30,000 in
But there's
asset,
at no point
anything
that
like
we
that.
had $41,000. We have a CD and a money market that was worth a lot more than that.
Yes, but what I'm saying, so at the ending balance of 2018 and the beginning balance of 2019, there is a big difference because we did not add in the CDs or the money market or the prepaid accounts in that balance. Because whenever we sat down to make a budget, we weren't going to utilize the money in the CDs or the money market. So we're not going to include that in the budget.
So it shows at the end of 2018, but not at the beginning of 2019?
Correct. We can change it back, but the reason we didn't is because of this train of mind. People don't want maintenance fees raised because it shows we had $102,000. We didn't. If you add in the $50,000 from the CD and the money market, then yes, the total capital that the neighborhood had was 102. But that 50,000 or now 11,000, 12,000 something, whenever we build about a budget in January, we don't even consider that $52,000 to build a budget for the
The
neighborhood.
confusion is it's beginning asset balance, and the word asset is not correct. It's beginning budget balance.
Correct.
I mean, that's, just mark out the word asset and put budget.
Budget, yes.
And
But
that'll
the-
settle everything out.
Yeah, but the difference between the 102 at the end of 2018 and the 40 at the beginning of 2019.
For items that are not a part of the budget and you cannot touch.
Correct. So there is 52,000 sitting in two accounts that we don't touch. We do not put it in our budget
I
line.
agree with that.
Yes, ma'am. But that's that gap that you're seeing. At the,
I totally agree, you gotta have something to fall back on, because we all know.
A hurricane can come through.
or two.
In future reports, in
Well,
future reports,
the reason
just
we don't
correct
take anything
take
out
the
from
asset
previous
and we'll
is
leave it.
because those are voted items. Whenever we vote to approve, any previous board, whenever they vote to approve the financial report, once it's approved, you cannot go back and alter any of this. That's why this number has to stay, because the previous board approved this financial statement. So if we were to now go back and change this ending balance and hand it out at every meeting, we're now not giving everybody the information that they got back in 2018. So legally, we cannot change that one column. But going forward, we have it changed. But once it's been voted on, once this financial statement has been voted on by a board, you cannot go back and change any of the numbers.
So in 2019, you ended up with 47,000, and in 2020, you started at 61.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do we gain the money?
That's what we're saying, that 40,000 was what was in the checking account at that time.
No, at the end of 2019, where it says actual, and then at the beginning of 2020, where it says 61. So that 61, if you look, that's not the beginning. That's what we have as of 8/24.
Yeah.
That 61,826 at the very top line, that's how much we have as of today. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
No, because over on the left, it says 1/1/2020
Wait, where?
at the very
It
top.
says
Beginning budget balance, 1/1/2020.
Oh, no, that was
Okay.
not supposed to go there.
That's a typo. Yes, sir.
that's what,
Scratch that out. But no, it's not the beginning. When each budget that we get at each meeting, it shows the actuals for 2018, 2019, the complete year. And then at the meeting, it shows where we are as of today in the 2020 column, and then it shows our proposed budget for 2020. In the 2020, you won't see actuals until the year end, but it'll show where we're at to date as of the meeting day.
So what did we have in the bank at the beginning of January 1st of 2020?
Including CDs and money market and prepaid, or without those?
No, but they should be shown on this.
Yeah.
They should be at the bottom so that somebody looks at this, they can tell exactly what we have in the account, or what we can get our hands on if need be.
Correct. Well, okay, but that's where I'm asking. The reason this is what we budget. This is our budget account.
I don't care about the budget. I'm saying if something happens, we need to know exactly how much we have in CDs, money market, the whole gamut.
Yes, sir. And we know to date, we have $133,095. It's not on y'all's copy because y'all have a budget copy. We have a fiscal financial record. That's
We
what
should
the
have
board
that
did.
also.
I was told the only thing that this is how it's been for 20 plus years.
I don't care.
I understand. I just took over at the end of January, at the end of October 2018, and I was told this is how it operated. No one ever questioned it, so this is how it operated. The numbers are true and correct. You want to see the books, you set up a meeting and you can see the books all you want.
No, it should be out there so everybody can see it.
Okay, I absolutely hear what you're saying. So, because we have new board members, we just took on 4 new board members. Because we have so many, we're going to call an executive meeting. That executive meeting, we're going to discuss that. That everybody that comes to a meeting will get a financial report.
Okay.
That has to be approved by the board. And I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't. It's our money. It's not your money. It's
Correct.
ours.
Absolutely.
We put it in there. We
Yes.
should be able to see what is in there.
Yes, sir.
So
At
in the
any
past,
time you
you
can
could
see
always
it.
listen to the videos and, I would write it down when she said it.
And at any time, and we've said this, and Mr. Taylor, you know better than anybody, at any time you want to see something, you personally have my cell phone number.
No, I don't. I deleted it.
Then I can't help you. I gave you my personal
But
cell phone
I do have a
number.
question on the phone bill.
Hold on, hold on.
Okay.
At any point, and I've put myself out there, and I am the only board member that I know of in the history of Lake Shadows that has offered to meet anybody here and answer and bring any documents you want to see. At any time, if you want to see your books, the neighborhood books, files, records, whatever it may be, you have the right to see them. Absolutely everybody does. The catch to that is that all the records stay at the bookkeeper's personal home because we don't have an office. So in that case, we have to kind of make an appointment with the bookkeeper, but you have every right to see whatever you want to look at as a property owner. And at any point, if there is a question, the only time I will not put financials is on a Facebook page.
Put it on the website.
The reason we don't do a website is the website is public. Anybody can look up lakeshadows.org and see all of our financials. That's why we have Civic League meetings. That's why Mr. Litz posts these on our closed Lake Shadows pages, so that not everybody in Indian Shores, Newport can see our financials. Because Indian Shores and Newport do not post their financials on a public website. This is for the property owners of this neighborhood only. So again, I will write this stuff down for you. I don't have a problem with that. We will discuss it at an executive meeting about taking this and putting this with the public page. I have no problem with that. Me and Darla has talked about that multiple times. Why public doesn't get this? Why people at the neighborhood don't? And it's just been, for the last 18 years, this is what's been handed out. So we just...
I think a lot of it is because certain people see a big number and they say, well, if you need to fix the boat ramp, just go fix it. You've got the money in there, go fix it.
Well, we can't
But they
hide
don't
it,
understand
because
that you've got to have money to
Well-
back yourself up.
But that's why we do a financial report at every single meeting. The financial report is read through. The numbers are written down. But again, I'm not saying that everybody shouldn't get a copy of the financial report. I'm not in disagreement on that. But just because I want to do it doesn't mean the rest of the board is going to agree. It's not my sole decision.
I totally got it the moment you said this is budget and you have a history. I mean,
We just need to correct the wording on the sheet a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. We'll correct the 2 little words and make the
that
line.
makes a big difference. Anybody's working in the office and getting charged or anything like that knows that you have a budget when you start out the year, but that isn't necessarily where you go or end up.
Sometimes that budget goes wacko.
And as a bookkeeper, we really appreciate what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Taylor, yes, we will address that at an executive meeting. Absolutely, and we'll have a decision at the next meeting.
Okay, on 2019, we ended up at 47,000, but we started off at 61. Where did we gain that money?
No, we didn't start off at 61. The 61 at the top of 2020 is as of today.
Today.
Yeah, that's why we said we will get the sheet where it reflects so that it says there effective 8/1/20.
Do you see under 2020 where it says 8/24/2020?
Yeah?
So that 61,826 is what we have in the account right now.
I also see if you look to the left, it says beginning balance 1/1/2020.
And I told you that is a misprint. Whenever Darla did
That was
this,
my error.
that was an error. That shouldn't be there. That's called a human error, typo error.
Is
That
there a
shouldn't-
typo at the top where it says 2020 proposed?
No. Whenever we build a budget in January, usually in the past, I know for the past 3 years, budgets were built in February or March. Since I've been on the board, budget has to be built before January 31st. So we take, that proposed amount is how much we invoice in maintenance fees for that year. Total amount that we invoice. Basically, at the end, we roll over what we have in the account at the end of the year and start there. That's what we budget with. So at the end of, where are we at?
So right now, our proposed of 61 is our actual balance of
No.
61.
Let me correct
Yes, ma'am.
something.
Yes.
So where it says 2020, 824, 61, 826, 47 in that first line, that is what was in January 1st. If you go down to total revenue, 64, 540, 48 is what is actually sitting in the checking account at this moment. And then when we did the budget, we did the proposed over here on this side for informational purposes only. We're showing each thing that we proposed for, and that first number that we start with was what we started with in the account. These numbers never changed. This is just what it was proposed at, if what we have to stay within these numbers for each one of these things. But what we actually have in the account is 64, 540, 48. For just maintenance. Let me rephrase that. Just for maintenance. That's what we use to work our operating expenses for this.
But that total revenue should be the total of those columns added up, and you're not gonna definitely just have that as our ending balance. That 64,540 should be the 2180 plus the 5. It should show your income from January 1st to 8/24/2020.
And it does, that column adds up.
Right.
So
So
it,
that's
what
not the
really,
balance in the account.
it's not, no. The
That's
balance,
why I said that QuickBooks were just kind of using it as a glorified check, because they just have money going in, but they're not booking entries and doing all, and it's not wrong, it's just the way they've always done it.
But it's
Well,
not
it's
right
not.
either.
Well, it's just not giving you the information correctly. It's a little skewed because of the way we use QuickBooks. And, you know, you have to go to cash basis or accrual basis, and this should be accrual, but to look at what you have in the bank, you have to look at cash. There's different, I mean, QuickBooks is weird if you don't use everything. I mean, it's great to use for balancing your checkbook, but it's not great. You have to manually compute a lot of the stuff that gets reported. You can't use a report.
and see your report, we'll sit down as a board and we'll talk about it. Because the report, technically speaking, we should be able to take total revenue of 64,540.48. Your ending balance, if your ending balance was 47,127.44, subtract from it operating expenses and come up with our ending balance, and you have it as 90,503.22. That number is not correct. 47 is 64 minus 35 is not 90.
And on their proposed budget, it was in balance when they did it. So those numbers, you know, if you add those up, they had it, you know, their proposed budget for revenue expenses match like a budget should be.
Yeah.
So,
So as a board, we'll take a look at it. And Mr. Taylor will have a much more accurate report for you the next time, okay?
Yeah, because this is not accurate.
We'll have it there for you, okay?
I won't be at the meeting next time, so that's okay. I just came here to stir the pot.
I think the first one invented.
Well, then you gotta make sure that you don't approve these, this amount.
What you can approve is total revenues to date and total operating expenses to date. Because those numbers are correct as of 8/24/20. We've taken in revenue of 64,540.48, and we have spent 35,863.73.
But they just approved the financial report, they don't approve the expenditures.
So we need to
Yeah.
put that in there.
Yeah. Yeah, because what we approve is the financial report, not the budget.
Okay, good.
So we approve this end. That shows the accounts broken down.
Good.
But what we'll do is get this straightened out. Sound good?
And then vote on whether we can see the other part.
Yes, sir. I'm making my list. Yes, sir.
Well, if you see
That's-
the other
it
part, you
looks
gotta
like-
make sure you put confidential for Lake Shadows, whatever, so that they don't put it on Facebook.
Oh, they will.
There's
They
somebody's
will.
gonna
Well, that's
put
just,
it out
it doesn't matter what we put on there. Confidential stuff ends up on Facebook anyways. So,
Could you put them on the website on like a secure login so people who are a homeowner?
We don't have, our website is public, so.
Right, but there's capabilities, if you get a different like website provider, you can have member logins and
Right,
people could
which
use
costs more
information
money.
that route.
And then we need someone to run it too.
yeah, but that, and again,
But
I mean,
yes, you can do that.
great idea, but like she said, it's the money and then it's the person to run it. So the reason the minutes aren't on the website is because I've been doing the website and I don't have time to do it. Now that we have a full board, I can probably hand it off to somebody else. But that's, to manage the website, it's not, what I'm doing right now is literally once a month, I go in, I change the date, I upload the agenda, and I try to make changes, but I can't manage the website. That's a weekly deal.
You need somebody specific for that.
And I took it over from Darla. Whenever she became the bookkeeper so that she could focus on bookkeeper. Yes, sir.
I'm new to the
Wait,
neighborhood.
hold on, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna pause you right there because I'm gonna forget. Let me finish writing his, because I will forget.
Please introduce yourself, because we like
can
to
do
know
that.
who we are.
You will.
I'm Tim Board. I just moved in 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Something that might help also, because like I said, I knew there was a homeowner association, but I didn't know who to reach out to. I did messaging, asked neighbors. Nobody had really any information. I might have talked to you.
Yeah, we emailed you.
Yeah, so that being said, it might be also good to throw something out there to resend to everybody about contact information and just to kind of little updates like that for people like me that didn't know or what we need to do would help a lot. But
Actually, that might be a handout you can hand out at
Well,
closing or something.
see, and I know, so I mean, it all comes back down to the freaking mail.
Yeah.
Because Darla, whenever she gets closing, she mails out a welcome packet. Half the people in this neighborhood don't get their mail anyways.
Yeah, that's a good,
And then we
just
also
website,
found
see
out
what
that
happens.
when,
well, and that's what I did. I put it on the web. I guess I just got approved actually today. So
Well, if it's the Facebook,
That didn't
well,
help.
here's the
Yeah.
deal on the Facebook pages. So there's three, actually there's four
exactly.
Facebook
So I
pages.
didn't know which one was which.
We don't run it.
Right. So
Those are homeowners that run
Neighborhood,
those.
right.
Yes, sir.
okay. So secondly, what I wanted to say was I came from a neighborhood where I was paying almost $120 a month, homeowner
You
association.
don't say.
So, but hear me out what I meant to say. And I know everybody being homeowners, they want to know as much information and so forth. And I was involved with my last homeowner association. But the thing is, some people don't realize what are actually our homeowners dues a year
Here,
per house?
here. So so not this. It's not cookie cutter.
Right.
It goes off your square footage. So it ranges from $32. We have a homeowner that only pays $32 a year
Okay.
to up to $300 or I think the top is, right now.
Yeah, I think it's like 269, something like that.
So
Okay, so what I'm saying is, a lot of people probably don't realize that, but my thing is, y'all work for free to do this. Everything that was mentioned, like the website, this, and that, what I was paying for, we actually paid for those upgrades. So the more stuff that people want done, you're not realizing it costs money, it's gotta come out of the budget that we're paying for. So the more restrictions, the more access, the more questions people have, and they're like, well, we have the money. It doesn't work that way. Y'all are paying it, so the more stuff y'all want, the more it's gonna cost us in the long run. You know, I think mine, I just closed on my house, and the only reason I know it's like $90 a month, or a year. So that's nothing compared to what I was paying for, and same thing. Our homeowners association sucks so bad, that's why I moved. So, that being said, money is one thing. I mean, I'd be gladly to still pay, you know, $90 a month, but you gotta understand that money's getting put into an account, which is used for the stuff, but the more stuff that everybody's asking for is coming out of what we're paying. So, little things like helping out with websites and stuff are cool, but we have to pay for it.
That's really what it boils down to. Is
Exactly.
There's not enough money left over at the end of the year
Correct.
to really attack any big amenities
Yeah.
or repairs.
And not to beat the horse that we were just talking about with the boat ramps and docks and all that, you could put that off to the side, that the money's never gonna change
Right.
to where that's always gonna stay the same. The money here is for all the maintenance and so forth. That way everybody gets a better understanding that that money's never gonna change. It's not used for mowing yards and so forth, that, you know, kinda simplify a little bit more.
Yes, sir. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the financial report, not the budget, but the financial report?
Sure. Motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion passed. Okay, ACC, which do I still have it? Sorry, I didn't make a sheet. I've got 8 approvals. 1 is out due to a death in the family. It is 1 new home, 1 fence, 1 palapa, actually 2 new homes, 1 fence, 1 palapa, a swimming pool.
What's a palapa?
It looks like a shade made out of leaves that you see at the Mexican restaurants. That's a palapa.
Palmetto leaves.
Yeah.
One of those things. Everything's been approved. I just need I need sign-offs, and I can't sign it. So we'll meet this afternoon, this evening, and sign it. 5. Oh wait, then take 1 off because 1 we can't approve. So we've got a fence, a house,
1 house.
a pool, a fence, and a palapa.
Sounds like something to eat.
Sounds like a fruit. Okay, that's all I have. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the ACC report?
Motion to approve.
Oh, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion passed. Deed restriction committee? We haven't had a deed restriction committee, so we'll get with you and we'll go over that later. Okay, maintenance report?
Well, I was absent at the last meeting, so I don't know if it was addressed or not, but the last thing that I took care of was the fence. There's a few spots where somebody cut the damn fence, you know, snuck in the pool and
Oh, no
keep
way.
cutting down at the, I guess at the dock, so they can walk across fishing, I don't know, but I keep having to fix it, so. That was the last thing I took care of.
Motion to approve the maintenance report? Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion passed. Okay, old business. Past due maintenance fees collected. Darla, is she still here? Yes. I've got to hand it to her. Darla's been busting her butt to get past due maintenance accounts down. We talked about today, you're down to only 42 accounts, 47 accounts that are past due.
We had 189.
Wow.
And these are not just a year or two old. They're 14, 15 years old. So
They still live here.
yes, a lot of them are lots, so they don't live here, but there's one big one that we have, they still live here, and they basically told us when they die, then we'll get our money.
So what are our legal?
We can't do anything until it hits $1,200, and of course, with our fee so low, it takes a long time for them to hit $1,200. However, when they sell their house, they cannot close on that house until they're paid, and that's how we've gotten so many lately, is for that reason. And also, when they do contact me back, because they did get their mail, I've set up payment plans. We have payment plans. We now have online payments. So we can take online payments and we can set up a payment plan, and that, once I get contact with someone, that usually turns out, and I get them on a plan, they pay it, and we're done. I have like 3 people right now on a payment plan. And, but a lot of these were just, honestly, I don't know why they were so late. You know, some of it was the address we had because they didn't live here. And the only way I found one address, because when I got served with their tax suit notice, I got an updated address. So I was able to find them in Timbuktu in Texas. So then they had to pay it and everything. So, but some of these, like, there's some lots in here that there was a developer that started here. Their last name was Smith, and they owned a lot of things. They just, in the last couple of years, sold a lot of those lots, and so some of those were that they had accumulated like a 12-year time frame, but when somebody else purchases them, it's trying to get that money from them. So because once they take ownership, we do get to collect at least 4 years. So, you know, I spent a lot of time on getting this down because, you know, I mean, what eats people alive is the interest rate or the late charge, and people don't realize that. But, you know, all they got to do is contact me. We'll work something out. I don't take chickens, but I will take, you know, a payment plan. So, so that's where we're at.
So normally if they close to a title company, the title company knows to get a hold of it. If it's a cash sale, or they buy it at auction for taxes, or if it's an inheritance, then sometimes it slides through and you don't get to collect it before they take ownership, and you have to try to collect from the new owner.
Right.
Which we've done, but.
Oh, no, she's collected a lot. That you have to contact new owners. She has been calling and she's been collecting.
How many houses are actually in Lake Shadows?
921 lots, 589 houses.
The 921 is what you're collecting for.
Yes.
And how many do you have open right now?
I have 47 open.
You're doing an awesome job.
So, and then
Did you say we have only about 500 out of 900?
589
that
are
houses?
actual, because a lot of people own multiple lots.
Oh,
Some
okay.
people own 7 and 8 lots, so that's why the difference. And how do I know that? Because I just did 921 or 589 ballots, and I just stuck them on the doors. And that's, you know, we had a lot of the issues with, I don't have issues with the mail on bell code. I don't know what is special about bell code, but I don't have any issues. But I know a lot of people do, and that's why I begged and pleaded to get our QuickBooks to be able to do what it should be doing, and so I can collect online, because we're all used to online and things. And just the few people that have, you know, contacted me to pay their bill, they loved it. They didn't mind paying the small little convenience fee, and I get the money in a few days.
I will say this, when I delivered these, or some of them, the mails that I had to, mailers and ballots that I stuck on the doors, it was very difficult to find out which house was the right house for the mailbox, because some of the mailboxes are on one side of the street. And there's no numbers on the houses.
That's the problem I had giving out boat ramp stickers this year.
Yes. And I spent, for the first day, I spent 6 hours in the car, in the heat, trying to figure out which house went with what. And there was a couple of times that they walked out to us, who? Just like, it's me, just give it back. And I would go on to the next one. But it was very frustrating because the newer houses have them in brick, you know, on your house. But the older homes, there's nothing above the garage door, there's nothing on the door. And the mailbox, some of them were so corroded that you couldn't read them if you tried. So it was a real challenge to get them out. And that may be the mail, I wouldn't be a mail lady.
That's probably some of the mail issues, but this year, we have posted on Facebook, I have for your email. My email is lakeshadowsbookkeeper@gmail. And you can, if I do not have your email, send it to me if you want to get an email invoice. You'll also be able to pay it online. If you don't want an email, you can still pay it. You just have to call me and give me the information, and I can do it right then.
Perfect.
This is just
It's a lot of E's, a lot of and a lot of K's.
Thanks for getting all those people to.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a challenge.
some of them are not very nice to me, though.
I bet.
I just try to be nice.
Okay, we're gonna obviously go to new business. So the ballots. Now, if I tell you, hold on, wait, it's because I'm trying to write your question down. Okay? Because if I can't give you an answer, I spoke to the attorney this afternoon, gave him a heads up that I'll be sending him questions, but I need to write them down so that I can send them to him. Okay. There's not much for us to say about the ballots. I pretty much did this so that if there's questions, we can try to answer them.
I have a couple.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, under our current deed restrictions, for anything to pass, it has to be a certain percentage of the square footage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, on the new ballots, it just says 67% of the property owners. That's a big difference. It has nothing about square footage. And I don't have my notes because I came straight here, but I did highlight them. So the wording on the existing, I'm gonna get this for what? Put it together. Says, you know, it passes if the then owners of the majority of the square feet area of the or property subject to such terms elect to. Now it just says, and then we had to look at the property code to see it was 67%, because it didn't list what the percentage, what the majority was. The new language on the ballot. Oh, thank you. The new language says, mine was highlighted. It's two different places. Okay, one of them says, maintenance charge amount shall not be amended or changed to exceed 8 mils per square foot, maximum without an approved vote of 67% of the property owners. That sounds like people were to pass this, we're talking about 67% of square footage. That's totally different.
Yeah. It's going to go off of property owners, not square footage anymore.
Okay, so 2 people can vote if they are both property owners on the deed.
Nope, property owners is
They're
just
both
like your property.
owners.
Your property owner. You own one property, or you own a second property, or you own a third property.
But me
It's
and
not
my
how many
husband
property owners
jointly
in the
own those
residence.
properties. Do we
It's
get
not,
2 votes?
it's not how many property owners are in the residence, because you could have 4 property owners in the residence. It's your property owner. Me and my husband own 2 lots. We are a property owner. We have a vote. What people get confused on is the whole election ballot for your officers. It's 1 vote per lot. That's how it's written in our bylaws.
Right.
So how we're changing it here, because the square footage is very hard to figure out. So
Have
we
you already
changed.
figured it this year?
Yes,
Certain
ma'am.
votes?
Yep.
Poor thing.
But that's just it. So whenever this was brought to the attorney, it was Do you want one vote for a property owner? Because then it gets into that whole line of, well, you were married when you bought the property, but you're the wife, so you can't vote.
I know, but
Which isn't right.
who's gonna tell me or my husband who gets to vote when we disagree?
We've already had that.
Yeah, we've already had.
We've already had that. So I have two lots. My husband says yes and I say no. That's not, that is your household issue, not
I know,
mine.
but we're both property owners.
So how many properties?
Huh?
So how many properties?
Well, we have 1.5 lots.
Okay.
I know, but when the way it's worded in here we go again, different interpretations. 67% of the property owners. He's a property owner, he's a property, she's a property owner. I mean, 67% to me, and maybe it's just me, sounds like property owners.
67% of each person that has their name on the deed.
We have 2 names on the deed.
But that, and again, it to a certain extent, everybody is going, you can take written words and interpret it however you want. That's why we had these written
Believe me,
by
I
an
know
attorney.
that better than a lot
Yeah,
of people.
so if the way that we brought it to the attorney to change this so that we're not doing square footage anymore, is that each property owner has a vote. If there's 4 property owners within a household, that's not, each property owner within one property has a vote.
Well, then that's what this should say, is that per property, you get 1 vote, not per property owner. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but one of the biggest problems in the subdivision is disagreements on interpretations. Because we all interpret different, and here we go again, we're opening ourselves up, I feel like, for misinterpretation.
It doesn't matter what we do, we're gonna open ourselves up.
Well, that's why on the ballot, we ought to make it as clear as possible if we're gonna go to the trouble of doing this.
Why did we go away from the square footage?
Because it's really hard for one person to figure out the square footage of everybody's property. It was never done.
It's like
Harris
9
County
million
has it.
square feet.
Yeah, you
Oh,
wanna
yeah,
go
and
through and
that's-
look up every single
That's what I've
person.
been doing.
927 properties and figure out their square footage?
You did last time when you raised
No,
our fees.
we did.
did.
Okay, hold on,
Wait.
wait. We did not. That was a different board. We,
Okay,
did
the
not.
HOA did.
they did not do a vote. It was a board vote. They did not ask the neighborhood a word. It was a board vote to raise those maintenance fees. They did not go to you. They did not go to the
But
property.
they did go to Harris County to get the square footage.
No, they
because
did not.
My fees
Yeah, we did. We
went up.
looked up every square footage on every property to get the record straight, okay? And I will say this, I was on that board, and that's why I said I know the difference of interpretations, because we talked to an attorney who said the board legally had the right to raise those, just like most property associations.
Except for they lost the case.
It never
Well,
went
there
to
was never
court.
a case.
There was
Or you
never a
settled it
court.
out of court.
Yes, sir.
There was never a lawsuit.
Never was a lawsuit,
Never
it
a
was
lawsuit.
just a
for
letter,
that.
threatening one.
So that's why I'm saying we need to make sure this is as clear as possible to avoid that. So, and my other question is.
Oh, hold on, I'm writing.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
So instead of property owner, property, you get to vote
I don't know.
household.
You get one vote
One
for
vote per
one, two
You
lots.
can't do household because
I got 3
households can
lots.
own 3 or 4
I only get
different
one
houses.
vote, which is the vote.
It's not.
Housing unit.
Because I have to
You
pay
can't
the
put, and
fee
again,
on all
you can't
3.
put housing unit because there can be multiple owners within a housing unit. That's just it, is
I
that,
don't care what they do with it, I stir the pot all the time.
Okay, part of that, and I'll just read it while you're doing that, because in the other one, it's the following is added, and it reads, these restrictions, conditions may be amended from time to time by a vote of 67% of the total votes allocated to the property owners in Lake Shadows entitled to vote on the amendment of this instrument. So that's not any, I mean, it doesn't have the same language. It doesn't say 67% of the property owners, it doesn't talk about square foot, it just says of the total votes allocated. And I don't want anybody to think I'm arguing about raising fees. I mean, obviously, I was on the board that chose to raise them. We definitely need to raise fees. I just want it to be done so that there's no room for argument down the road and that we end up with this.
I agree.
So, I mean,
I agree with you there, but the biggest thing here is you're actually getting a vote this time as opposed to you did before.
Well, and plus the fact that we have the attorney to always make the judge, so it's not saying.
Okay,
You
so
pay-
in
A lot of attorneys
regards,
don't know how to be an attorney.
He's on the
In
square
re-
footage, but you only get one vote.
you don't, no, you get, if your square footage is 40,193, you get 40,193 votes.
that's to make the change. Afterwards, you get one vote, whether you own 8,000 acres or,
Correct.
8,000 square feet or 40,000 square feet.
Correct. It
One
won't go,
vote.
it won't go, if you own 4 lots, you
one
get
vote.
4 votes.
So you get 4 votes? So you get a vote per lot?
Only if they're on the books separately, right?
Correct, because there's been a lot of properties that whenever they close, if you go to HCAD, they say, well, I have 3 lots. No, you have 1 lot.
Yeah,
Because
ours is
it was
one lot.
redone
Yeah,
to
but
1 lot.
I think because they're not plotted as one lot, they're plotted as individual lots. Because my house sits on 2 lots, I can't sell 1 lot, I've got to sell both. And and it says I have 4 and I have 5.
Correct.
So, because it's not plotted, and when they plotted this, they plotted them in ones.
But you can
one
still
lot.
combine them at the tax office, and like mine has the square footage as 1.5 lots.
But each one of those lots has its own number.
In Lake Shadows, but not at Harris County.
But you can split them
You
up.
can,
Right,
because
I
some
could sell,
people
if my
have
house
them
wasn't
split.
sitting on it, I could sell a half lot to the neighbor next door.
Right.
I mean, so you can sell them, it just depends on how it's surveyed and then how you have the tax office combine them. So, I mean, so,
HCAD don't put mine together, but I can separate them anytime I want to.
Yeah, and that's what the thing, some have it separated and some have it together.
See, I just purchased
So are-
mine and it's got lot 13 and lot 12, so it does show it on the plot.
so are they gonna get 2, am I gonna get 1.5 votes for 1.5? Or if I had some 4 lots that Harris County has 1, are they gonna get 1 vote, or are they gonna get 4
Well, if we're
votes?
going by square footage, we're doing square footage.
No, I'm talking about after, with this
After.
change that y'all are proposing.
From what I understand, it's just like the election, so that we made them both the same.
Yeah.
If you have 1.5 lots, you have 1 lot and another lot. Doesn't matter the size. It could be, your half lot could be 15,000 square feet or 15 square feet. That's a lot. We have a lot of people that have quarter lots, but that's still a second lot. That's why in the election voting, people got upset because this guy had 2 votes, but he only had a quarter of a lot. That's his lot. He got 2 votes.
Okay, so you are gonna address that. You want my?
Okay, so here's from what I understand. And we're doing this with the rest of the deed restrictions. We're the ones that we aren't amending. Property owners, the plan was once we finished with all this, there was gonna be another deed restriction, deed review committee. And we were going to do what's called clarifying resolutions, where you put definitions to every word. My example is a fence can't go over 8 feet. It doesn't say that in the deed restrictions. It gives the height, it's very vague. You do a clarifying resolution that gives a definition. Property owner. In our deed restrictions, it does not give a definition. The state of Texas has a definition and the legal library has a definition. You do a clarifying resolution to put a definition, 2 words or a group of words within your deed restrictions. That is not a voted on by the neighborhood change. It's written up, you get a group to do your definitions, and that would be a definition that would go into that clarifying resolution.
Would those definite clarifications be voted on?
Not by the neighborhood, it would be voted on by the board.
Why not?
Clarifying
But in my
resolutions don't have to be voted on by the board because you're not changing. You're giving a definition. You're clarifying the word. You're not changing and you're not amending. You're clarifying. To where property owners, there would be a clarifying resolution that would say, like how this first page says, if you read through the first page, it gives definitions of everything. We would write clarifying resolutions throughout all deed restrictions, whatever word is mud, you get a group of property owners to go onto a board, just like we did with this. They get together, they make a committee, they go through the deed restrictions and say, this is very vague. We want it to say this, and it's a clarifying resolution to that word or that group of words. There is no change. It gives a definition to the word.
Well, I don't think if we use the state of Texas definition of property owner, they're not gonna tell me that my vote can be overridden.
But see,
by
that's already an argument. Because half this neighborhood can't agree on what is a property owner and what isn't. That's already an argument.
All right.
I mean, so that, on that right there, it would be a clarifying resolution of what is defined as property owners.
All right, and you're gonna address the fact that those two things say two different things.
Okay, where at? I think you went on whenever I was still writing.
Okay, so that was what the following is added to section 3, and then where it says the following is added to the end of section 1, it says if I vote of 67% of the total votes allocated to the property owners in Lake Shadows.
Okay, so I'm sorry, what is your question?
I mean, shouldn't those either read the same thing? You're gonna do 67% of the total votes allocated or 67% of the property owners?
I was
Or
about to say, I'm
67%
reading it as
of the square footage.
the 67% of total votes allocated to the property owners in Lake Shadows, entitled to a vote.
So are you suggesting that we need to resubmit all of these ballots to everybody and void the current
Well,
ballots?
no, I'm trying to understand, I don't understand the difference.
I think I'm gonna pass out.
Well, I think people need to understand what they're voting on the ballot. And so when I read this, one of them says 67% of the property owners, and one says 67% of the total votes allocated to the property owners. I mean, I'm not suggesting that they send it out again. I'm just saying, if y'all address this, keep in mind that these are things that people might be thinking or asking.
Well, they should have been here, I would imagine. Wouldn't you?
Well,
I guess I don't
hear, so.
I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand the question.
It has to do with that wording part where you have, the following, in section 3, the following is added. And so it says, without approval of the vote of 67% of the property owners of the subdivision. And then the next one down, she's saying it's by the vote of 67% of the total votes allocated to the property owners. So, I have 2 lots. I only get 1 vote. Is that correct? I'm gonna get 2 votes.
You're allocated 2 votes because it's changing per lot.
Okay, so,
It's changing per property. Instead of square footage per property, it's changing per property.
You got two.
Oh, so
Okay.
somebody only has a quarter of one, they have.
It's a vote.
it's a
They get
vote.
1 vote.
So, but now you have, it's not really gonna matter because we're gonna do the same, but my name and my sister's name is on the property for our 2 lots. Between the 2 of us, we just get 2 votes.
Right.
It's
Okay.
not how many people own the
Yeah.
property.
It's how many lots
It's
you
how many
have.
lots you have.
Okay, so then you're up there and it says the 67% of the property owners, I don't think we've ever had 67% of our property owners to ever approve.
Anything.
Yeah.
Well, it's never
I
been
think y'all
done.
should have lowered that to 51%.
And
Legally, you can. And the state law, and we went over this and over this, and I did 3 attorneys on this.
that maybe the
You
bottom
have
part
to be
should say
67%.
Instead of saying the total votes allocated, it should just go back to 67% of the property owners.
So,
Take
because
the word
because he put the
total
word
votes
allocated
allocated
in there.
Okay, my next
Okay,
question.
to do that. Okay, so I'm just letting y'all know. I still, but again, it's open to interpretation. Anything that's changed in here, all votes are voided. Ballot has to go in the trash. I will ask him to clarify this. but again, I read it differently than you do. I just don't know that I'm gonna ask the right question.
If the ballots have to be in by September 1st, how are you gonna get the answer back to us? 'Cause that-
We would, if this has to be changed, then we have to send out new ballots.
This is changed, that's why I was asking her whether she wanted us to redo and begin the whole process over again. Because if anything changes on here, we have to tear all of these up and all the ones that already we've received and all those who've already voted and ask them to go back and vote again.
Yes,
Well,
but-
That's all I was clarifying. I'm not arguing
well,
one way
no,
or the other.
we've done this, we've had plenty of meetings over this. This isn't the first meeting we had.
Yeah. All right, I have two more questions. If I remember my two questions, so I don't have my notes. One of them is, do we have an independent, somebody outside of the association, of the subdivision that's collecting ballots
Okay.
and doing them all?
Per state law, it is not a law or a requirement to have a third party do that.
But it's smart.
We had them checked. Okay, so the way that it works and the way that the state law is written is that if you're not required to do it, we have the bookkeeper doing it. She is a paid employee. She is not a voted member of the board. So that's who we have collecting ballots.
Not a paid employee.
But she's a resident of the.
I don't think
Yes.
that's correct, I believe that's wrong. You cannot have anybody counting the votes that's affected by this.
Correct.
Right.
So
And she owns
Okay.
property.
let me finish. So we are not required to have third party. Because she is a paid employee, she can do it. Because she is a property owner, she can revoke her vote. She does not have to. I had the attorney go through the state law, our deed restrictions, and our bylaws. And that is how he had put it. Is that in regards to that vote, unless it is a vote for a specific person who is named, they cannot be a part of counting votes. That's how it is with our election. If you're up for election, you cannot touch the votes. But because this is not per a person that is specifically named, you can be a resident of the neighborhood and still count and tally the votes. It is in your best interest not to have anybody on the board count and tally votes. Because we voted to go forward with the change. So that's why we have Darla doing it. Darla had no say-so in voting to have this sent out to the neighborhood. Now, she doesn't have to rescind her vote. She can still vote because it does affect her just as much as everybody else. That's the way the law is written, and that is if it does not affect you as a named person, then it doesn't have to be a third party.
Okay, my next question.
Hold on, I'm going to finish. So the only thing that it does state is that a provision for a recount. That's what's stated in the Texas law. If a recount is required, a third party should be hired at the expense of the person requesting the recount. That is where it does mention having a third party. And it does mention that, and that is in the event of a recount.
Okay, just asking that. My next question. If one section approves the increase or one deed restriction and another deed restriction doesn't, are you just going to increase it for that section and not the other?
Okay, this is another question that he sent over. And like I said, I went on Facebook and I started writing down questions. So, the way that our deed restrictions are written, and it even though we have different sections by the way that they were developed by the developer.
And they're not identical. Similar,
No, yeah, we have different sections. I didn't say deed restrictions. We have different sections because section 1, section 2, section 3, it's the way that they were developed.
Right.
Okay. The deed restrictions were written as the sections were developed. Okay. Each sections have different deed restrictions, sections 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. But in the preamble of every single deed restriction, it is written in our deed restrictions that all sections are a member and a part of the Lake Shadows neighborhood. We all have the same HOA because every section is governed by the same Civic League HOA. If sections 1, 2, and 3 and 4 get 67 approved votes yes, and section 5 does not. Sections 5 deed restrictions is written that section 5 is to be treated the same as sections 1, 2, and 3 and 4 of the Lake Shadows neighborhood and governed by the Lake Shadows Civic League.
So y'all are just doing square footage for the total subdivision have to have 67% yes.
From what that
From the entire subdivision.
From what the attorney had stated is we can break it down 1 through 3, 4, and 5, but the way to pass it, because all deed restrictions are governed by the same board, he says it's easier just to take the square footage of 1 through 5. 6 doesn't matter because nothing's being changed to 6. The square footage of section 1 through 5, 67% majority, yes or no, changes all 5. Because, and that's how our deed restrictions were written, that all sections are governed by the same body, Lake Shadows HOA, or Civic League, and they're all part of the same neighborhood. So basically the way that he put it is if we lived in the estates of Lake Shadows, and we have Lake Shadows Estates, Lake Shadows Lakefront, and then Lake Shadows Mainland, and they're all governed by different governing bodies. Lake Shadows Lake cannot make the change for the other ones that are within the same subdivision because they're governed by different bodies. Doesn't matter how many sections are within, because we can't change Lake Shadows Estates. That is their own government. They have their own body. Now they have 2 sections, but that's they can change whatever it is within their subdivision. Within this subdivision, we have now, I guess, 7 sections that you brought my attention to. But whenever it's changed by the neighborhood, not per section.
I'll just be honest, it's frustrating to me because, you know, I sat up there as a board member saying, my attorney says this and this and this, and everybody got, you know, mad and upset. And you can ask 10 attorneys and get 5 different answers.
I agree, but I think the difference between whenever y'all did the maintenance fees versus whenever we're trying to change them, we're bringing it to the neighborhood to a vote.
Well, I'm talking about anything. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about the pool. It's just frustrating to me as a person that 10 different attorneys are going to give you 10 different answers.
And I agree.
And the one, you know, it's like, you know, that was our thing. It's just
Well,
it's so
my
frustrating.
opinion of it is that for all homeowners, and we should be asked to vote. Y'all did not do that.
Right.
And I don't think it was
You need to go out
ever.
and act like we're doing now. Have all the people that live here vote.
That's
Not the board members, the people.
Like I said,
And we brought property owners in to do this change. I went with a property owner to his attorney of choosing, and I went with him. And he brought me to another attorney to get his, and I went with him instead of saying, we see this, we don't care, it's going there. I went with him to his attorney to address the same thing. Sat down with his attorney, got her interpretation of it, which was the same as this neighborhood's attorney. Which everybody in this neighborhood has access to that attorney. That's not our attorney. That is y'all's attorney. And I've given his name and his phone number out multiple times. No, I'm not posting it on a Facebook page, and no, I'm not posting it on the website. That is for our property owners only. The attorney, you know, our attorney is an HOA attorney. He compared us to a neighborhood in Sugar Land State. The attorney that I went and visited with a property owner that asked me to go with him because he had questions, she was an HOA attorney. They are all sitting on boards with HOAs. They're not litigating attorneys. They're not different attorneys that kind of dabble in it. And I agree. Every board, you can go to a different attorney and get different interpretations. I absolutely 100% agree. But I think part of the issue that is dividing this, which is sad, is that whenever it was raised before, the property owners were never asked.
right, but I mean, that doesn't even matter. It got handled, it was fair, that's what the people voted on. I don't have any problem with that. And I'm all for raising them. I just want to make sure, like I said, that we're not opening ourselves up.
And that's just it.
To somebody. So that's why I'm asking these questions.
And and I'm writing them down, so I'm not going to disregard anybody's question tonight. I'm writing, I've got papers upon papers. The attorney will be emailed at some point. I'm not going to guarantee I'm doing it tomorrow because I've got 2 kids that are doing online school. But he already knows, these are going to be emailed. I'm not posting them on Facebook, and I'm not posting them on the website. It will be brought up at the next meeting. Mr. Lentz records these meetings. I don't think many people watch it, which is sad, but he records the meetings. This is the best way. I tried doing Facebook Live, it doesn't work.
Right.
So, none of the questions are going to be disregarded. But until we get the questions asked and we have some clarification, we're going to continue to receive ballots in. Darla will continue to tally up the ballots, but nothing will be put in stone and nothing will be filed until we have at least the majority of people that are concerned answered. Now, granted, whenever we have a handful, 5 people, and you know this better than anybody, a group of 5 people within 900 and how many property owners?
589 owners.
And only 5 raise a question or 3 raise a question, at least I'm going to take their questions and try to get a clarification. If anybody says, well, this is what my attorney says, then you best believe I'm going to stop and I'm going to find out. We will, as a board, figure out what to do. We will go forward. We will meet with attorneys. We will do that. Nobody is going to be disregarded.
Right, and
At
like I
any
said,
point.
that's why I thought I want to bring questions that maybe other people have, so they can be addressed to make sure that after this vote goes through, somebody doesn't come and say, well, this and this and this and this and this.
Well, and it's going to, and that's going to happen. No matter what we do, there's always going to be a different interpretation on the changes, and everybody's going to interpret it differently. The only thing that we can do as a board is try to answer everybody's questions and get it clarified by the attorney that we have.
Right.
We're not going to hire 4 or 5 attorneys.
Right. Oh, I get
You
it.
know,
I just want to avoid somebody coming after this and doing the same thing, saying I'm going to file a suit, y'all didn't do it properly.
and there's always a chance that's
There's
going
a
to happen.
chance, yeah, there's always a chance.
When you were saying that you've had this, you brought this up to, you've been working on this or something like that, I've been out of state and I have not received anything in the mail.
No, the ballots were not handed out until we got an approved ballot by an attorney and by the board. But the last meeting we had, I had these at the meeting. We only had 4 people show up.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
All 4
is
people
that
got copies.
When you were saying, you know, we've been working on this or something, I didn't know you've been working on it, and that's why I'm just now coming here, and that's why I was saying, do you need this changed before September 1st? And you can't get this done before September 1st when our votes have to be in. Is it set in stone that our votes have to be here by September 1st?
We have to have this filed with the courthouse before January 1st, 2021.
Okay, so before January 20th, so it's not really a
But you also
problem to
have to-
change those verbiage.
And you also have to take an advantage, we have to get it done in this time frame because we have to go get it filed into the county. Then I have to input 921 lots and what there's, because everybody's different. It's not just mass put it all in there. And that's after verifying 921 lots through HCAD to make sure that it is. We have 9.3 million square foot that I have to account for. So it's a never-ending process to get it ready to go out, so when y'all get your statements, it's a correct statement. So we can't wait till January 1st to.
Well, no, but I mean, like, we can bring this up again next month to do the vote, like, for October 1st.
But that's they've already put in a lot of work to get this distributed. The young lady here was talking about having to go door to door to,
Tape them on the door.
and are we gonna ask her to do that all over again?
Please don't.
Well, I think you need to do something on the verbiage. And I don't know how you can go and change the verbiage and say, you know, some of these people might have voted.
No, and that's just it.
You have to redo it all.
If we have, and I'm not going to just disregard everybody. I'm going to send the attorney the questions and ask, here's the concerns on this verbiage. Can you break it down for me and clarify it? Do we need to rewrite the verbiage, or can it be put as a clarifying resolution to clarify the verbiage? If he says nope, if they have that much of an issue with it, then we have to rewrite it. If that's the case, there's no way we can have these changed because we don't have the manpower and we don't have the time. I had a complete committee that met for 3 months to work on these. And then after that, it went to the board for 2 months to change, to revise, to redo, and to choose. And we ended up going from making 5 amendments to making 2.
And when you guys were looking at this, I don't want to be critical or anything, you didn't think it sounded confusing on those parts?
Everything sounds confusing to me. It's legalese.
Those-
It does. And we weren't the only ones that read it. Like I said, last month, before we handed ballots out to property owners, we had people that came to the meeting. Everybody got a copy of it. There were the board members and 5 residents that came to the meeting. They got copies of it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I
They
just got
read
that.
it. They read it. And there was no change, there was no question or anything like that.
When you're a board member and stuff, you know what you want, and you don't see some of this.
We gave it to property owners that came to the meeting. They weren't board members. We had 4 property owners, only 4. Usually, we've got Mr. Litz, Barbara, the board, and maybe 2 other people that come to a meeting. So at that meeting, we gave the property owners that were here copies of this and said, read through it, look through it, see what you think, and nobody came back with anything. So it wasn't the board. We've always offered for people to come to the meeting. We'll give you what you asked for, and we gave them copies.
That's what I was like, I should have been mailed. If they got it, they got it. They didn't, they didn't.
Well, so to mail these, it would cost us well over $1,300. And that's to mail 1 sheet of paper. That's for postage, and for postage, printing, everything that it takes, you're looking at about $1,300. Now, we had 4 pages, which increases our postage. That's why we didn't do mail-outs, because we don't have the money to do that many
Just went
mail-outs.
through this on mailing dues out, and everybody didn't get them. The post office just magically shredded half of them and gave it back to us that way.
Sarah, I think it's great that you're taking down all the questions and trying to clarify, but the truth is, you're never going to be able to satisfy everybody, and there's always going to be questions that are raised. There is no way. Sorry, I'll phrase it like this. I'm a retired pastor from 38 years. I've served churches that had thousands of members, and there's no way that I could ever satisfy everybody in the church as we built new buildings, as we relocated, as we added plants. There's always going to be questions, and there's always going to be somebody who's not happy. You just have to move forward at some point to get things done.
And I understand that, and I do. But I want to make sure that the property owners that show up to the meetings that have questions get them answered. It's not a, we'll get back with you and nothing ever happens. I am a firm believer HOAs have way too much power within neighborhoods. Way too much. I think board members have a tendency to push things past that they want to do because it's too much work to ask the property owners. And 974 property owners is a lot. We're bigger than Indian Shores. So I have no problem, just everybody also needs to understand, as everybody knows, everybody here is a volunteer. Everybody's got family issues, health issues, children, have to work, out of town, everybody does. I am more than happy to take these questions to the attorney. I'm not going to answer them. I'm not an attorney and I'm not a professional HOA board member. But the issue is that I will bring this to the attorney if he feels that, yes, Barbara is correct, this opens you up to too much interpretation for a lawsuit, it needs to be changed, then that's what we'll have to do. Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, maybe you could have a centralized location like where you go to vote. And you could have a centralized location that everybody was notified, Facebook, neighbors, whatever it takes, to come.
We tried that.
Rather
On the
than
board,
you-
voting day, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Be there,
well,
do it
rather
that
than
day.
you
so
deliver
it's
them to
too
each
late.
house.
That was fun,
They
by
did
the
that
way.
I have
You know
another
what we
question.
did for the water board, you go there with your mom.
We can't seem to get people to even come to the monthly
meetings.
meetings,
Yeah.
much
I
less
understand
the
this.
voting.
Well,
And I
I've
can
got-
tell you, my husband's on the water board district board, and he has to, it's a federal board, and he has to do his little flags and his little his propaganda and whatever, but he gets very few people to show up to actually vote.
And we won't get them to show up anyway.
It's not even a third of this neighborhood that votes.
I
Yeah.
had lived here for many, many years,
We'll be lucky if we get this
and I
passed.
was very involved with repairs that went on, and I both were. And we helped out the best that we could, and my sister was on the board at one point. And I made the biggest mistake of going to one of those meetings. 2 men almost went into a physical
Fist
fight.
fight, yeah.
There was screaming and
It's-
yelling
it's
and the wives
absurd.
were going nuts. And all I did was walk away and say, I cannot believe you were involved in this. And she was like, "There's like this one." Well, I didn't go back. Now, that may have been me, or we're neighbors, and we don't need to be fighting amongst each other. We need to be agreeing and helping, and this has been wonderful.
Well, but with that, and here, I'm gonna advocate for the people that, for the Chuck Taylors. But, no, but here, hey, me and Chuck sat at that table over there for 2 hours one day. We walked away, thanks for talking to me, we don't agree, but it was a good talk. That's what should happen. People like Chuck Taylor that don't agree with something should absolutely have a voice in their neighborhood.
Right, but they don't curse each
But,
other.
exactly, but it should be a back and forth, and it should be civil.
Right.
But as a board member, any board member should accept anybody's questions and at least try. So that's what I'm willing to do.
I have another question. I hate to do this to y'all because I know y'all want to go home. This one part is because recently retired at half my salary what I had before because of the situation. So it says that the board, the Lake Shadows, has the authority to adjust the maintenance charge from year to year as deemed proper, but no event shall change to be more than 8 mils per square foot at any time. So if we agree to do this 8 mil this year, passes, then next year you say, you know what, we really didn't have enough, and we have to do this all over again. I need this explained to me.
You can't, what that means, and this was a very specific thing that we had asked the attorney to make sure, is that by year to year, it cannot go over 8 mils. As in, you can't increase it by 8 mils. By no means during a 1-year period can it go over 8 mils per square foot. Now it can go down. If a board decides, but see, and that's a board decision, not a neighborhood.
Right.
If the board looks in the neighborhood, you've got 30 people here going, man, we've got $500,000. Why are we still paying? The board can go, you know what? For the next year, let's bring it down to 2 mils per square foot.
But all of a sudden we have a major disaster and we don't have this money, and so next year when it comes time for the budget or whatever, and they vote and they say, we need to take it at 8 mil or 4 mil.
It has to be voted on by the property.
It still has to be voted on.
By the
No.
property.
No. 8 mils. It can fluctuate between
That's the
0
cap.
to 8 mils
Right,
as
but
the board.
okay, well, let's say you're gonna raise it 4 mil. The board can raise it, or you have to get
The board-
67% of the property owners.
The board can do that, because the board, and it says, as the board deems fit, between 0 to 8. By no way can you change to go over 8. That's the way that the restrictions are written.
But it's like this year it went from 4 to 8, so we're doubling it.
And-
So next year y'all come up and just willy-nilly, you're like, we really need some more. We need to, because you know what, I know for years since I've been here, I've said these HOA fees are so low. But now I'm at half my salary. And I'm like, you know what, doubling this thing now, doubling is like a little hard.
Well, you can move to Newport.
Yes, I could. And let me sell my house for $300,000.
That's right.
Okay? But
But
I
what I'm
have
saying
been
is
here
there.
now for 20 years, so don't make remarks
What
like that. Please don't
we
say
pay
that.
on dues
I have to
is nothing. Is nothing. If you go to Newport, look what they charge.
appreciate
Look
it.
what
No,
they
hold
charge.
on, hold on, ma'am.
Look at
Don't walk away. Please don't.
You know what?
Please don't.
I know how I'm gonna vote, so I don't need to hear anything else.
But what I'm saying is, our dues are nothing. 40, some of us pay
But we
40.
only have a swimming pool, you're comparing it to Newport that has golf courses and everything.
Right, but what we have is nothing. And
So-
we're trying to build it up, so we have a nice pool, a nice deck up here.
That's the thing.
It's a money pit.
That's not falling apart.
But it's,
Your
we've
pool
been-
is a money
I've
pit.
been here for 24, 25 years. They've been throwing money at that pool for 25 years, and it's still as bad as it was when I moved in.
Because we patched it.
Yeah, there's been just
I
patchwork.
mean, you can throw
It's
good
only
money after
patched.
bad.
It's only been doing exactly the minimal that we could get done because we didn't have the money to completely redo what needed to be done. We just had to make do with what we had. And I know that it's a money pit because there's not every property owner out here uses it. But there are many kids that use this pool. They may not use it every day.
but they enjoy it. Well, we're just not saying that.
Decrease amenities and you decrease your property value too.
Anyway.
You
I've been out
decrease
here
the
40
amenities.
years.
If you get rid of the pool, if you get rid of the pier, if you get rid of any of these amenities, your property value sinks.
Yeah. I just want to say, because I know, because I've been there, it's a super tough job, and every meeting, you're always going to get somebody that says that I didn't know, I didn't know, I didn't know. But, you know, we started deed restriction committee, tried in 2016, couldn't get anybody. We emailed, we posted to the website. We did newsletters back then with voting, and it was in the newsletter. We begged people to come to the meetings, and it's just impossible. So you really, you just, you know, you end up,
do
it
with
is,
the best
it's
you
totally
can do.
frustrating. I used to say all the time, we have, you know, 500 and something houses, and we have 5 people. I mean, there were 4 months that I was a board member that the only people at the meetings were board members.
Same here.
This is a great turnout.
That's how it goes.
But it usually takes, you met them with their money to get them here, and if we'd have them turn out every time, then we would,
Right.
you know.
So like I said, I wasn't here, I'm not here to argue, I'm not here to discuss.
No, we
whatever.
appreciate your questions.
I just want to clarify the questions. And I do want to say, and I know we don't have time tonight, but there's a lot of people that are discussing in the neighborhood that ditch behind the Skinner homes. I think at some point, we ought to try, I mean, it's not the HOA's responsibility, but.
The HOA cannot legally touch it. I asked
Right,
that.
I know that, but I'm just saying, if we can get out some information to these people on, you know, I've already, if y'all see my post, I'm like, if I lived on that street, I would be dragging every person on that street to that water board meeting. Because the water board says in their bylaws and mission statement that they're in control of flooding and they own the ditch. But I just think we ought to at least have in our heads something that we can tell people instead, because I always like, I asked the HOA and all they tell me is that it's not their problem. I said, well, it's not their problem,
Well,
but.
but whenever they ask the HOA that, is it asked on Facebook or is it asked at a meeting?
I don't know, and I.
It's asked on Facebook.
And you can't
And
address.
I went on
can't
there and
address it on
I commented to 2 of those posts, and I put the name of the only contact that I have is the precinct supervisor. I put his name and his email address. So I did put it out there. But again, not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody watches the video, not everybody comes to the meeting. We've tried our main source of information, as far as I know, has always been the website. And we have that information on the website. Now, whether people use it or not, that's as much as we can do. The board can only do so much. This is not a full-time job. But trying to reach out to every individual person is a full-time job. Hence why we decided to do these ballots to every individual person, because we knew mailing them, it was not going to work. It was a waste of money and half the people won't get them. So we decided, okay, we're going to hand do it. It took 3 ladies a week to do that. Now, when it comes to the deed restrictions, to the amendments, I agree. Everybody has a say-so. But everybody is going to interpret them a different way. Everybody's going to have their own attorney. Everybody's going to want this done and this done. The only thing that we can do is we can address those. Not just say, well, we'll get back with you, and then nobody ever gets back with anybody.
Right,
I use Facebook to answer questions if it's done at a meeting. I have no problem using Facebook as that. But the problem is the comments. If I put something out there and I get all these blast comments, I'm not going to respond to it.
Right,
So,
and I mean,
I will write
that was
questions
kind of the
down.
policy when we were on the board, we just stayed off Facebook.
Well, but that's just it. Is Facebook is a good way to let people know what's going on in the neighborhood. I have no problem with any board member getting on Facebook and putting information out there. But it's whenever you put the information out there and you get 50 people that have their own interpretations, we've always just said, as a board decided, you don't respond on Facebook. Write the question down, it will be brought up at a meeting. When it comes to the ballots, this was not the board that made this. It was a group of committee, it was a committee of homeowners that did this. The only board member that attended the meeting was me. It was 3 months that a committee of y'all's peers did this. They brought it to the board. It was 5 changes that committee wanted to do. The board voted, we're not going to overwhelm this neighborhood. For the very first time, these deed restrictions have ever been proposed to be changed, and sent to property owners. We need to decrease it. So we changed it to 2. This that is written was written by an attorney. All the emails from that attorney is within the Lake Shadow Civic League email, not somebody's personal email. So if it wants to be accessed by anybody in the community, here's the president email and then Menidee's email. You can have my phone and you can look through every single email that is sent between a board member and an attorney at any time. I think the pressure for this board, at least for me, for Nora, for John, for Juan, is over the last 2.5 years, we've tried to make everything transparent for this neighborhood, that at any point, if you have a question, everything is public. Nothing that is done on this board is done through personal email, except for ACC. Whenever Juan can't check his email at work and I need to get a response from him, I send it to his personal email. But other than that, it is all Lake Shadows property. It is all the property's owner's information. And at any point, if there's an issue, a board member needs to address it, but it will not be addressed on Facebook. And I think Mr. Taylor can attest that he had a problem. I had no problem meeting him here for 2 hours with him and his wife. I showed him everything that I had.
Yeah, I still disagree.
See? But the thing is
That's
that
democracy.
I gave him everything that I had. I did not, and he didn't agree with what I said, which is fine. But the maintenance fees need to be increased.
No.
The amenities that we have, whether you use them or not, is what the neighborhood has. We're landlocked whenever it comes to our amenities. The only thing that we can improve on is the properties that we have. Now that being said, you did bring up that there is a Section 7 in Lake Shadows. Does anybody know that? Besides Ed and Barner?
Ed told me.
Okay. The Water District owns 3 lots around the water plant that dead ends into RAFO. Just like the water, WCID owned all of Section 6 at one point. When they decide to develop, once the property is developed, it becomes deed restricted by Lake Shadows. The property that is in Section 5 at the end of RAFO is 3 lots. The Water District is never going to develop it because there's no way to access the houses because the water plant is right in the middle. That being said, the boat ramp is not ours. We have a 99-year lease on that property. It is the water board's. Who's to say if we can't increase this and get a little bit more money in our maintenance account, we can go to the water board and say, hey, $1 for 99-year lease, because that's what the boat ramp is, and try to put something out there in Section 5. We can't do that unless we have money. The pool, everybody thinks the pool is the money pit, okay? I agree. We put more money into that pool than what we make out of it. My kids are at that pool every day during the year. I've managed the pool. This is my 3rd year now. I know exactly how much money goes into that pool, and I know exactly what is wrong with it. The people that I have spoke to, if the pool had a splash pad, more people would be interested in going to it. If the pool had a slide, more people would be interested in going to it. I don't like going to it because the bathrooms are dirty. I don't like going to it because the deck is broken. There's all kinds of reasons. The first year that I took over the pool, we broke even, except for the money that was put into the concrete. That $38,000 you're never going to get back. But what we spent in chemicals and minor repairs with the income of the pool tags and the pool parties, we broke even on the pool. That can happen every year. Many people say we're not in the business of making money. I agree, but we need to be able to pay for what we use. That's not going to break the maintenance fees. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed at the pool, the deck, the boathouse. In this area of the park, we have a very large fishing pier. The pier needs some maintenance done. The boat ramp needs some maintenance done. The property that goes up to, not the boat ramp, the bulkhead, is starting to erode. That needs to be done. The fence over there with the gate needs to be fixed so that the little ones that are down there playing while the parents are up here waddle out there and end up able to push the fence over and end up in the water. This was built and designed to have roll-up doors. I didn't design this, I didn't have it built, but whenever the board had this built, it was designed for roll-up doors to go all the way around so that Christmas party, if it's 34 degrees outside, 28 degrees outside, we can still have a Christmas party in here and allow the kids to see Santa Claus. The gazebo is rented out for weddings pretty regularly every summer. It would be nice to be able to fix this up just a little bit. Putting roll-up doors here, it'll be rented. We can have our meetings here instead of the water district whenever it's 28 degrees outside or whenever it's 110 degrees outside. These are just little things that can be improved. Doesn't have to be. Here are examples. The boat ramp. The boat ramp, I think, needs to be paved. Asphalt, something permanent so that the four-wheelers and side-by-sides stop tearing up the rock that we pay every other year dump money into to fix.
Is the lease, we have to do the improvement?
Yes. You know, the fence for WCID, their end isn't all the way on their end of the property. We can make an agreement to push their fence over, give the voters a little bit more room. The tennis courts are crap. Okay? Yes, people use the tennis courts. It's about 2 or 3 families that go down there 2 or 3 times a year. And I know 2 of the families that use it. They use it during the summer when their kids are home from college. That is a very large piece of property sitting right there that is never used. And we dump money into fixing the turf. We dump money into fixing the tennis fence that goes back and forth and killing the weeds around it. I'm not saying do away with it, but there's things that could be done. We could build an office, very small, 600 square foot office, and still have a full basketball court on that piece of property. A complete full court. And it's just things that can be done. We're landlocked with amenities, but there's things that we need to do to improve this. People don't like bringing their kids down here. The tree house is about to fall over. I would like to get a nice size playground that any kid can play on it and the teenagers don't rip it out of the ground. But it's not, it has to be done with money. And 1962 money is not the same as now. We cannot maintain what we have with 1962 money. Everything goes up. It's called inflation. Now, I agree this needs to be done correctly, and if there are questions, they need to be answered and they need to be clarified. But we're trying to do this the right way from start to finish. And that's all we can do. Now, if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass, but just be prepared that the pool will close, and I'm sure people will be happy with that. The pier will close. We will lock the gate. There will be no access to fishing piers, because if we cannot keep it safe, nobody will get on it.
Our insurance.
The boat ramp will be closed, because if we cannot maintain it and keep it safe, it will be locked. The fire marshal will come and we'll lock it up. The fire marshal has that right to lock that boat ramp up without any say-so. It doesn't matter who pays for it. The fire marshal comes to our boat ramp twice a year. Did anybody know that? He comes to our boat ramp twice a year to inspect our boat ramp. I got contacted from him. So I know he comes. I've bent over backwards to make sure during COVID that boat ramp stayed open. So the people that complained that we are not taking care of our community because we didn't close the park, we didn't close the boat ramp because of COVID, it's because it's an outdoor space. I'm leaving it up to the neighborhood. The board left it up to the neighborhood. If you don't want to go, don't go. But those that want to use it can use it. We're not a public boat ramp. We did not have to close. The fire marshal can shut you down. We're trying everything that we can to help the neighborhood, but at the same time include people that own property here. Y'all own this property, y'all pay for it. It's not a board's decision. So what we can do, we will do. What we can't, we'll stop. Yes, sir?
I've been wanting to try to get an interjection here on
Sorry.
that exact point right there. You said that the way this is written, I couldn't find my copy to come down here. The board has the authority, or you're wanting the board to have the authority to raise the dues another 8 mills?
No.
No. They're capped at 8.
They're capped at 8 mills. So what happened 3 years ago? The board stated.
I understand that, but did you
He's
say
talking about the
just
next
a little while ago that the board could raise it down the road?
No.
All by themselves?
No,
I think
sir.
what he's talking about when you said if you lowered it 1 year down to 4, that you could raise it to 8.
You can raise it back to 8, but you cannot go over 8. No board can go over 8 at any
It's
time.
not an additional increase.
No, sir.
Right.
That's what it was, is that
5 years down the road, if you have a surplus, they could lower the rate.
I must have misunderstood, because
And then-
previous to that, you said, you know, the board could have, you know, we can't give.
Board,
the
yes,
all
the
power
board
to
can
the
choose to lower it, then 2 years later, the board can choose to raise it back up to 8.
But never
Capped
never
off.
exceed it.
Right.
Not without another vote.
Not without another vote.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing, is bringing it to us to vote to approve
No.
That's
that.
all I want to know.
But,
Capped off
yeah, that's
before
what,
that. It's capped
I'm
off
glad
if
to hear your
we
question.
Lower it
Thank you.
or raise it as we see fit up to 8.
But by no year, if the board says, okay, we want to go to 10 mills in 2026,
You have to go
it
back
has to go to the
vote.
property owners
Okay.
to be voted on. But that gives the board and the property owners the leeway. Again, if y'all come up and y'all are saying that there's a ton of money in the account and you're still getting charged 8 mils per square foot, it's gonna take enough property owners to actually come to a board meeting, voice your opinion, and tell the board, what are we doing with it? And ask the board to lower it back down for a year.
The thing,
But
just
that-
to address it going to 8, is everything is in such prepared, you know, that it's gonna take a few years of that surplus of money to fix all this stuff. I mean,
Catch up.
there's.
And then the
this
hope
stuff-
is to go back down.
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah.
see,
But we're not doing 8 every year. We've
No.
got it capped at 8.
Exactly. Yes.
And we're not making an arbitrary board decision, we're leaving it to the neighborhoods to make that vote.
Probably
Property owners that come to the board meeting.
board decision, but,
So you
ultimately,
get, let's just take a hypothetical, you get the 8 million, then the money comes in, and y'all decide, okay, we got this money, we can decide if it's the program first, or we can decide if it's here
that would be
first,
addressed
or
at a
we
meeting.
got-
So that would be addressed at a meeting. So we would have a meeting,
By the people.
and then whoever shows up, right.
They'll have their input.
They're allowed to give their
Y'all have their
input.
say.
Yep.
Yes.
The
The
board.
board will make the decision. I would think that it would be a priority to fix something that hinders our safety.
Exactly.
Because our insurance is so astronomical. If one issue comes up that we have to claim on insurance, they're going to drop us. Especially since we were neglecting knowing what needed to be repaired and it wasn't repaired. So if we take care of the safety issues first, then I think we can start working on the rest.
But to answer your question, it would be the board. You have to have somebody within the neighborhood that has a final say-so. And
Just like
remember,
that.
all the board members are what?
They're elected officials.
But we're also your neighbors. We're property owners. We're impacted as much as you are by it. But we're going to listen to the voice of the people, but we can't bring the board, and I'm just new on the board, so it really didn't matter. You can't take every little decision back to the community.
No, I agree with
And
that,
try to get
but
a
I just think the
67%
things
vote. It's not
need to
practical.
be fixed before we decide to put.
Oh, no,
yeah.
doors on
And
that.
here's what I've always
Exactly.
said.
I think that's gonna be more problem for the teenagers in this neighborhood, but I will be at that board meeting
Yeah.
and voice that.
Well, I can promise you the doors on this thing is probably
But-
low.
That's low priority.
Yeah, and it was just suggestions. And again, what that list was,
I've heard like 4 or 5 times.
I know, because that was brought up by property owners.
Somebody-
That was not brought up by board members.
All they're gonna put is boards.
But that's what I'm saying, it's what you're seeing on that list is not from the board, this is from different property owners on Facebook, property owners that have come to meetings, these are property owner suggestions. I just took a bunch of them
No,
and threw them together.
I get that, I just wanted to make sure that he would have a say.
Yes, ma'am. But again, we're not gonna drag it out to 4 months so that we can get 4 different people at each board meeting. The agenda is posted for the meeting, and yes, I will admit, and I was told never admit when you're wrong, but I think that's the wrong thing to do. Sometimes I don't get the agenda posted Friday night. I've got kids and I've got a job and I'm not always on top, so it's Saturday before the meeting. There is an agenda posted. And on the agenda, I mean, like this one, it only had 2 things on the agenda. But the agenda is always posted. You can go on, check it. If you want to have a say-so, come to the meeting. If you don't, then don't. But the agendas are posted.
Gee, Sarah, I thought you did everything.
As y'all can tell, I'm watching the pool, getting ready for the pool to overflow, so I've got to run my butt over there and turn the water off.
Anybody that's ever attended one of our meetings though, their voice gets voiced. They get to speak out.
Everybody
It's
gets heard.
always been done that way. Always has.
Most of the stuff I totally agree with, I mean, I think we need new equipment for the kids to play on, I do.
But we need to make sure that everything's safe.
Well, no, I
Yeah.
think we need the stuff that's first.
That thing needs to be firm.
Because in the long run, you want to look at if you decide to sell your house and you have these amenities and they're nice, your house is going to sell quick. Lake Shadows goes quick.
Yes.
You get usually a good top dollar for your properties. And, you know, some of us, I mean, we're here till we go home, but, you know, this is our house. But, some people want to go, you know, and move somewhere else. So you have to think about the resale factor for your property, because we want those to go up to be able to sell our homes if we had to.
The first thing on the realtor when they list them,
Pool,
designated, the desirable lake shadows with pool, boat
Boat
ramp.
ramp.
Boat
That's
ramp's big. 'cause you
And
gotta
fishing
travel
pier.
it. And a fishing pier and a park.
And that, well, I also list the tennis courts and basketball.
Yeah.
they used to have on those listings pictures of the tennis court back whenever it was relayed, because the board had it relayed at one point and had the new nets put up. They had pictures of the tennis courts, not pictures of the pool they had the tennis court up there. The tennis court isn't on there anymore.
You actually could just use a good power washing right now. Just power wash that
You
thing.
got any more questions?
Yeah.
So when the new real listings that come out after we get all this passed and start doing the work, it will say newly upgraded.
There you go.
Newly upgraded.
Okay, I'm gonna
8:30.
go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Well, I got one question before you do that, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you say that you have to have 67% of the votes for this to pass.
Yes, sir.
Is that the votes or the ballots that are turned in, or the amount that was sent out?
Oh, no, they have to be signed and turned in and then count.
So
Oh, yeah,
if
no.
nobody turns it in, it doesn't get counted.
Yeah.
They're looking for fours.
Yeah, oh, no. Your vote doesn't get counted unless we have a signature on a ballot with a yes or a no.
Oh, I turned mine in tonight.
Here's mine.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter how many we sent out. No, sir.
It's the
Okay.
majority of the ones received is the answer.
Correct.
Yeah, and if you don't sign them, I'm gonna come after you, because I had put those things on the door.
Okay, Nora made a motion to,
I second it.
all right, all in favor? All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank everybody
Yes,
for
ma'am.
coming. We really appreciate it.
Can I get any of the new board members